anything with her on stock. And today, I am probably going to introduce her to the needs in a big group to try to see how she reacts. She got a little bit excited when I was using another dog to bring the stock through these gates. So she did get corrected for that. I don't let dogs just bark and get up the sidelines. They have to learn to be patient. So correction, and then I physically pressure the dog if that verbal pressure. As you can see, she's not really hooked up to me. She's eating food, moving around. So the first thing I'm going to do is kind of work on getting her hooked up to me. And what I mean by that is if I move or I go somewhere, she should be interested in following me. So there she did make a couple steps towards me. She is on a long line to prevent any bad behavior. I have actually put her on the bucket and have her make her normal left on doing stupid things like that. So I call it that because that's exactly what it is. And I do this with their kennel as well. Do it 5 or 10 minutes a day, morning, night, doesn't matter when, sometimes, middle of the day, doesn't matter when you do it, doesn't matter how many times a day you do it, but these dogs need to be in tune with us. So, good girl. Keep following me. There's no pressure on her. She doesn't feel any pressure from me. Then I'm not staring her down, forcing her to do anything necessarily. I can use that opportunity to reward her, petting, verbal praise. Oh, please. Good girl. Anytime I say her name, I'm going to get a response. That's what the long line is for. So she doesn't get the option to ignore me. If I ask for a sit or a down, I'm going to make that happen. I did a little bit of down with her the other night for her dinner. So using a little bit of kibble, down, and then reward, down, and then reward, and then calling her to me. Have not yet asked her to sit. Sit. Good girl. So what I would do if she did not comply with that is upward pressure on the collar until her bottom drops down, and then I would release the pressure on the collar. So she's not going to get the option to ignore me at all. Sit. Good girl. Good girl. So upward pressure on the collar. If I have to reach down and use my hand, so I'm going to go up underneath her and then upward pressure like this. That's going to make it uncomfortable for her to be in this position. I'm not choking her. I'm just simply holding the collar. When she leans back, I'm going to release that pressure. So that's if she chooses not to take the command that I've asked for. I know she knows what sit and down are, but I was told that she does not always listen to them. So from the day she got dropped off here forward, that's not an option. She will always sit if I ask her. She will always down if I ask her, and she will always come to me if I call her name. So that's something that must be kept up for the life of the dog. The minute you ignore a sit or down cue, the chances of her obeying it the next time you ask are going to be more and more slim. So the boring thing that I'm going to ask her to do today is just get up on this bucket, and I use upward pressure on the collar. If she doesn't take that cue, I'll put her feet up there and just make it a little uncomfortable for her to stand there. Good girl. And then no pressure on the collar when I let go. And I expect her to stay there. If she chose to get down, I would simply put her back up. Good girl. She's not real happy with this. She says, this is stupid, Oakley. And again, I'm not going to let her disobey. I'm not going to let her ignore her recall. So immediate collar pop, immediate pressure, immediate scolding if she doesn't do it. Oakley. And it does take them a bit sometimes to figure this out. So just upward pressure. When she finally jumps up there, there's no more pressure on her. So no more tight leash, no more tight collar. I know this seems kind of stupid. That's the point. The point is for her not to question what I ask her to do. It's just to do it. I'm not going to put her in a situation that's dangerous. I'm not going to ask her to do anything she can't do. I need to take those situations into account, which is why I don't start off on stock asking them to stop, sit, or down. I let them learn how to manage livestock in a calm way before I start telling them what to do. Hopefully. Good girl. So this practice is her recall. I can practice my sits or downs if I want, and then practice her doing something just because I asked. Sleep. There are no treats involved. It's just pressure and release. You can use treats. I choose not to. There are no treats going on. Her motivation needs to be intrinsic. Her motivation to obey just needs to come from that bond that she's got with me as the person working with her and asking her to do things, not from an outside source. Later on, her motivation will be access to livestock. So as I build behaviors with her and her understanding of responding to those behaviors, livestock, that's the reward, right? At first, the reward is there's no pressure put on you. Hopefully, good girl. She gets verbal praise. She gets attention from me, and those are pretty much the reward here. Trying to build a biddable dog, a dog that just wants to do what you ask it to do just because you ask, not because there's necessarily something in it for them. There may be, and like I said, that will come later. Right now, we're just trying to build her listening, obeying, and understand that she doesn't have a choice in the matter. Oakley, nice job, good girl. Oh. Particularly good responses get better praise. When she makes a mistake, verbal pressure, so I'm conditioning the verbal, the response to the verbal pressure, and then following it up with physical because I know she doesn't know yet to get back up on her plate. So I'm going to give the verbal, get a response out of her, and then reinforce it with a physical. Oakley, just like I would if she ignored her recall. Good job. Nice job. That also teaches them or starts to teach them that just because I'm giving them verbal praise, it doesn't mean that they're released from the behavior that they're doing. Verbal praise is simply basically like a keep doing it, you're doing a good job. For me, I don't want her, when I say good girl, for her to leave her cattle and come to me. I want her to keep doing what she's doing. Oakley, yes, good job. Good girl. Nice. Early on, I'm not going to really correct her for overshooting her play. Basically where she jumped on and then came off the other side. I don't think she quite knows yet where all 4 feet are. She's not really adept at jumping up there, so I'm not going to correct it. If it starts to become a habit or a pattern, then I will start to kind of verbally scold her for overshooting it. Oakley. Good girl. So just showing her that at any time I could call her name. So she does need to be paying attention, please. So right there, she made the choice to jump off. So I'm not gonna loosen up my slack on the collar or anything. I'm just gonna verbally scold her, pressure on the collar, make it happen. Good girl. Nice job. and I can praise her and reward her and pet her, give her attention for being up here, well, that's fine. It's not a requirement. Oakley. Oakley. So she didn't come all the way to me, so I'm going to put just steady pressure on her collar. Pat my leg, kind of give her an idea of where I wanted her. Good girl. So for me, a recall means that the dog comes all the way to you, and you're able to get your hands on the dog. If the dog is avoiding you touching them or avoiding coming all the way to you, wants to come into you and then shoot away from you, that's to me not a recall. That deserves a scolding, some verbal pressure, and then physical pressure to back that up. So if she was not on a leash and she only came close enough, within 3 or 4 feet of me, but I can't reach down and put my hand on her, I would verbally scold her until she looked directly at me. And then I would re-cue that recall, here, Oakley, good girl, good girl. And then when she responds to that, I would release the pressure, praise her, stand up. Now, if she heard my verbal pressure and tried to leave and go further away and avoid that, I would increase it with physical, meaning I would walk towards her until she stops leaving. So fences are your friend a little bit when you start off, because if you're out in the open and she chooses to leave, then you're just verbally scolding and walking at her until she gives in. And that may be a while. She doesn't know this yet. Oakley, good girl, nice job. So that's my idea of a recall. But again, if we were out in the open and she tried to avoid, I would just be in it for the long haul at that point. I'm going to verbally scold her, walk her down until she stops. Once she stops motion and she looks to you, all the pressure is off. Stand up, change your voice, get nice, ask her again, and then reinforce that. But she has to understand she cannot avoid the recall, she cannot avoid the sit down, because when you start to put the pressure on her, you're not going to let up. You do not have to get rough. You do not have to get mean. You just have to be insistent and persistent. Oakley, nice job. Good girl. Good job. Okay. And then here we are doing it with no pressure on the collar. So really, really good first session for her. You can see that her face has loosened up quite a bit. She understands what I'm asking her to do. She knows what the rules of the game are now. And she's happy with that. She's not, super speedy about it yet. But for her very first session, she looks like quite a biddable dog. So I'm very, very happy with that. Good girl. Bye.